Hey guys, it's Brandon Miniman from Pocketnow.com, and in this video we're going to compare the Palm Treo Pro with the Samsung Epix and come out with a winner at the end to determine which device is better. I know a lot of people are looking at both devices as their next phone. So let's start with the similarities. Both devices have full QWERTY keyboards right on the front. They have a flush touchscreen that is 2.5 inches diagonal and 320 by 320 in terms of resolution. Both devices are running Windows Mobile 6.1 Professional, and beyond that there are a ton of differences. Let's start with design. Let's look at the Samsung Epix. The Epix has a more traditional design with kind of hard square corners here compared to the Treo Pro, which has rounded corners. It has a unconventional dark gray metallic finish to it, which some people will like because it's very unique. There's not many phones out there that have a gray finish on it, and some won't like it because they prefer the usual black. Going around the edges, we have this chrome strip. Although we don't have a 3.5mm headphone jack, we don't have a quick way to turn on vibrate, and Samsung gives us their proprietary jack for syncing, charging, and audio, which no one really likes. But fortunately, the micro SD slot is on the outside of the device, so you don't have to take out the battery. So let's take a look at the Palm Treo Pro. The Palm Treo Pro is a much more progressive design with very rounded edges, a lot of curves, a really interesting looking device painted in black gloss. It's also, as you can see, a complete fingerprint magnet. It has a very minimal button layout, so we don't have soft keys here for the hardware soft keys, and the call start and call end buttons are separated by a lot of distance, and they glow their respective colors, so green and red over here, so it looks really nice. Going around the device, we have a volume rocker here like we do on the Epix. We have micro USB, and a 3.5mm headphone jack, which a lot of people are happy about. And going around the other side, we have a dedicated Wi-Fi button, which is tremendously convenient. And on the top, we have a switch to quickly go in and out of vibrate and have the ringer turned on. Unfortunately, the Palm Treo Pro puts the micro SD slot underneath of the battery cover, which is really inconvenient. But even with those issues, I think that a lot of people will agree that the Palm Treo Pro is a much better looking device. It's very sexy, it looks fantastic sitting on a tabletop, and it has a great design. So for design, the Treo Pro gets it. Okay, so now let's take a look at the keyboards, because if you're getting or looking at either of these devices, you probably care a lot about the keyboard. So let's look at the keyboard on the Epix first, which is taken right from the i780 and also the Blackjack 2. The keyboard on the Epix has a lot of very ample spaces between each of the keys. They're large, they feel good on the finger, although they're a little bit difficult to press. You have to press in a little harder than you do on the Treo Pro. The Treo Pro has a very small keyboard, which is actually advantageous for people with medium or small-sized hands because your fingers hardly travel when you're typing along. But for people with large-sized hands, the Palm Treo Pro is going to be very difficult to type on. So for that reason, I'm going to give this one to the Epix in terms of the keyboard. So the Epix has the better keyboard. Okay, so let's talk about software. Both devices really don't come with much additional software to enhance the experience. They don't have any kind of interface replacement like, TouchFlow 3D or SPB Mobile Shell. They don't include anything for flick scrolling. They don't have Opera Mobile 9.5 built in. It relies on Pocket Internet Explorer. And if we look at the Programs menu, we see no unusual entries, nothing really interesting that differentiates this from each other or from other Windows Mobile devices. The one advantage I see is that the Palm Treo Pro doesn't come with a lot of Java-based trialware. There's probably about 15 pieces of Java-based trialware on the Samsung Epix, which just clogs the program memory unnecessarily. So I think for software, they both kind of lose, but if I were to pick a winner, it would definitely be the Treo Pro. Okay, so let's talk about usability. Let's start with the Treo Pro. If I'm using the Treo Pro, I'm going to take out the stylus from the bottom right corner. Very good placement for that. If I'm using the device, I'm going to try to use the D-pad here, which is a really good D-pad. It has a nice ledge on it, so you can feel for it when you're not looking at the device. Also, the selector button in the center is really predominant and easy to use. Unfortunately, the Treo Pro does not have hardware soft keys, so if I open up a program that requires me to use a soft key, I have to go up and actually press on it, which is not that big of a deal, but when we're talking about usability and moving your fingers as little as possible, that's a little bit of a problem. The screen is actually more sensitive on the Treo Pro than it is on the Epix, which makes it easier to use with a stylus and easier to use with a finger. But like I said earlier, there are no really touch enhancements built into the Treo Pro. It's mainly a device that is supposed to be used with a stylus. Okay, and so if I'm going to use the Epix, I have another input option. I can use the optical mouse, and hopefully you can see that moving around. The optical mouse has fantastic sensitivity and really allows me to use it to control all of the aspects. I can even scroll with it pretty well. In addition to having the optical mouse, this device has hardware soft keys here. So really, if I'm using programs and I'm moving around doing various tasks, I'm not moving my thumb around much past this area in the center. So if I want to operate the right menu, I don't have to reach up. I can go right there, and I can close the program like that or use the OK button. It's just a lot less finger travel, which makes it super easy to use this device with one hand. So for usability, the Samsung Epix wins. And in terms of performance, I have to say that both devices have really snappy performance. There have been a ton of Windows mobile devices in the past that were just slow. You'd click on an icon, it would take forever. Not the case with these two devices. They are optimized very well from the OEMs, and they work really well. That said, they have different specs. The Epix has a 624 megahertz processor, whereas the Treo Pro has a 400 megahertz processor. You really can't tell the difference. Where you may notice the difference is in the amount of program memory. And let me pull that up in the settings so you can see. Okay, here we are in memory, and we can see that the Treo Pro has 101 megabytes of total program memory, whereas the Epix has 108 megabytes of total program memory. This difference is very small, and what it may mean is that you may be able to multitask a little bit harder on the Samsung Epix before you run out of program memory. But it may be the difference of one program, and it's really not that big of a deal. But because it has more program memory, and because it has a faster processor, I'm going to give performance to the Samsung Epix. And finally, I want to talk about the all-important price and availability. The Palm Treo Pro is being sold right now. I saw it on buy.com for $500. The MSRP is about $550, and it is sold unlocked, so it will work on any GSM carrier. If we look at the Samsung Epix, if you buy it outright without a 2-year contract, it'll cost $450. But if you buy it with a new contract, it'll cost $200 on AT&T. Now, of course, you could buy this device and unlock it and use it on any carrier, but that may be an additional, $30 to $50 or so. So in terms of price and availability, I'd say that the Treo Pro wins on availability because it's unlocked already, and the Samsung Epix wins on price because it's being subsidized on AT&T. Okay, so let's conclude our findings here. I found that the Treo Pro is the better looking, better designed device. It has a 3.5mm headphone jack, it has curved lines, it's sexy, it's black and gloss, it looks fantastic. In terms of keyboard, the Epix won that one because it's more spaced out, it's better for the most amount of people because the buttons are larger and they're easier to use and feel. And then we talked about software, and I said that the Treo Pro won software because it has less Java-based trialware than does the Epix. And then we talked about performance, and it was kind of a tie, but I gave it to the Epix because it's got a faster processor and a little bit more program memory, which is great for multitasking. Then we talked about usability, and the Epix took that because it has this optical joystick here, and also software-hardware keys, so you don't have to move your thumb too much from the center area. And then we went to price and said that the Epix is cheaper if you buy it on AT&T, but for availability, the Treo Pro wins because it's already unlocked when you buy it. So if we add up all of the totals, we get the Epix at 4 points and the Treo Pro at 3 points. And so the winner is the Samsung Epix, and the Epix even has better battery life, so that's another point for the Epix. Definitely the winner here. And so, if you like what you see, be sure to follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/PocketNowTweets, and also subscribe to our YouTube channel, Pocketnow Video, where we're constantly posting new videos about Windows mobile devices and other mobile technology. That is it for now.